What's up, gang? It's Zilux and I'm back with another video, and this video is actually going to start my series of teaching the absolute basics of trading. And today we're going to be starting with TradingView, so let's dive right into it. So TradingView is a platform where you can see the different charts and you can connect brokers to it and execute trades on the charts, So to start us off, how do you use TradingView? So I'm gonna switch to my desktop, and there are two ways that you can use TradingView. You can use it on the website here. We just go to tradingview.com and you can actually just go to anything you want and view the chart like this. And yeah, boom, here it is. Now it does look a bit scuffed on the website in my opinion. I think it's because I'm zoomed out. Yeah, so it looks a little better here. Personally, I like using the app more. I feel like this is just a little like laggier, like when I switch between the two. Yeah, it definitely looks way more cleaner, just like the FPS, I guess, or like the refresh rate when I move the chart around. So if you're just beginning, personally, I would recommend downloading the app, which you would just do from clicking your profile up here and do get desktop app, and you download it for whichever operating system you have and you run it, and boom, you have the app. Okay, so now that you have the app, what's your kind of next step, And what I would do is I would make an account. And why would you make an account? The reason why I say that is because basically the account will save all of the random drawings you might make on any given chart. It'll save it from like device to device as long as you log in, which is really nice, especially like going between your computer and your phone. You can be logged in on the same and see like the exact same drawings. And it also lets you save, your kind of watch list of, indices or Forex, charts that you might want to look at. It basically saves everything from device to device, and I find it really useful. Also, you're going to want an account because you're going to want to most likely buy the premium version of TradingView. And while you don't necessarily need premium, I would definitely recommend it for a couple different things. And you can see I currently have the premium plan, but I'll go over kind of why I chose premium and also why essential is a decent, purchase as well. So you can see no ads on here is super nice. I know my brother uses the free version of TradingView, and they're honestly pretty annoying. So I wouldn't recommend having ads, and at least purchasing the cheapest one. The nice thing is that you do get a few more custom timeframes, although I wouldn't say these really matter much. Like it mentions 7 minutes, 5 hours. Like the main ones you're going to be using are like 1, 5, 15, 1 hour, 4 hour daily. And I'm pretty sure you get that with the free chart. So that's not that important. The biggest thing I would say for the cheapest version is getting the ability to use bar replay, which essentially just lets you backtest your strategy. And, without it, you could get by. You could use this website called FX Replay for backtesting, which lets you do a certain amount of like data for free, as long as you just sign in and create an account with an email. It is nice. Like personally, I don't use FX Replay too much, and I do actually prefer backtesting on TradingView, because all you have to do, you just log into the charts, you click replay at the top here, and you can select any bar to go back on. And that way, okay, I'm on an outdated contract, but here you can see we're back on the 12th of June at 11:54 a.m. So then you can kind of be like, oh, I think my model tells me we go down here. So I place a sell order and we see what happens. Looks like I was wrong for the time being. But yeah, you can basically just backtest your model and, practice entering trades. Although it's not the exact same as, like entering a live trade, just the way it actually works. But I would say that's the best part of getting the essential plan. And I'll go over why I have premium. And you can see it's pretty expensive, you know, 50 bucks a month. And that's if you buy it for a year. It's actually 60 bucks if you buy it by the month, which is pretty crazy. I actually only got it for about 200 for a year, which is saving about 400 bucks because buying this 50 bucks a month for 12 months would be around $600. So there's a good sale going on around Easter time. I think it was like 80% off. And I really like premium because part of my strategy involves going on the 30-second time frame, which you need premium in order to access that that chart. So see here, second base intervals. Premium is the cheapest one that will get you to the 30-second time frame. So I figured it was worth the investment, you know, because I can sometimes get good entries on the 30-second time frame with my model, and I wanted that. So, and I would say anything above premium is basically useless. Like, no one is really ever gonna need 10 charts on their monitor at once, or 30 indicators, or, you know, all of these different things you get, because you basically get the exact same besides professional market data and first priority support, which you'll very rarely need support, I feel like. And professional market data, you have to qualify as a professional user, so what's the point of that? And ultimate's basically the same thing, besides you get a ton more of these things, but like I said, you're not going to need that. So premium is the highest I would ever go, and that's only if you want to use the 30-second or less time frames. But if you don't want that, I would probably just go with essential, because you still get access to that replay mode. You don't get ads, and you can still use a couple indicators, which personally I don't use a ton of, but I like using indicators to show like the AM session and everything, and also the equal highs and lows indicator is really nice. So now that you've probably created an account after downloading TradingView, I'm gonna kind of go into, you know, the settings that I prefer for mine that I think look the best. So if you just downloaded it, your chart probably looks something like this. It looks pretty ugly. You have like these weird blue lines if you're on futures. The colors are nasty. Like, maybe you like the dark mode, maybe you don't, but essentially I'll show you how to fix that. So the first thing I do is I like setting the canvas to actually white as a background, and normally I'm a dark mode kind of guy, and I get that still by setting my TradingView to dark mode, because all you have to do is go to app settings and then light mode. And okay, this is just like way too much light for me, so I like a little medium where it's dark, you know, on the outsides, and then white on the middle, and I can kind of focus on the chart. I feel like when it's dark, I like lose train of thought. I don't know if that's just me, but that's what I prefer. So next thing that you would want to do, typically I think I leave these alone. So we're gonna go to symbol first. So I like mine to be green candles for bullish candles and black candles for bearish. So I'm gonna change this to green and change this one to black. And then basically I like making everything else black. So really simple. All you have to do is make the top left one green and everything else black, and you'll have my color candles, which I prefer. And if you're on the futures chart, I don't think this pops up on Forex. Yeah, no, it doesn't. So let's say you're on the futures chart and you see these weird blue lines like this, and you're like, what is that? I actually didn't know how to change this for the longest time, but essentially, if you ever have this problem, all you have to do, you come to the symbol and you go to electronic trading hours background, and you just set the opacity to 0, and now they're gone. So I don't really know the point of it, but that's how you get rid of them. And next thing, for the status line, I don't believe I touch anything. Basically all this is saying is like what you want to see up here. I have no idea really what these things mean, so I mean, you could take off these and now it looks a little cleaner. Yeah, I wouldn't say there's much. Maybe you like the values, but it really isn't a big thing to change here. Mostly just personal preference. So next is the scales and lines part of the settings, and I believe all of this is default, and I would leave it all as default. These things at the bottom aren't really that important. Like this is all just color preference, but I would say definitely leave all three of these on. I don't really know what no overlapping labels does, to be honest, but at least for the plus button and the countdown to bar close, those are super important, at least in my opinion. So if you were to untoggle this plus button, you can see over here by where the price is at, by my cursor, there's no plus button. And if I enable that, see this little plus button here? I use this all the time because basically whenever I want to set like take profits, like I'm on paper trading now, so let's say I take a sell order like that. On brokers like Trading or basically things that aren't actually paper trading, you don't have these little drag to take profit things. What you have to do is actually set up a limit order to do your take profits and your stops. So let's say I want to have my take profit at this level right here, 21,870. I would have to do a buy limit at this price, and then it'll set it right here for me. And without the actual plus button, it would kind of be a lot harder to do it. I would have to do buy limit and then like type in the price 21,870 and then hit buy. And it's just a lot more steps than actually, you know, clicking this little plus button here and setting it right at the level I clicked it at. So definitely recommend keeping the plus button on. And for my strategy specifically, and I feel like a lot of strategies most likely, you want to have the countdown to bar close, which is this thing right here, because what I've heard is wicks do the damage and bodies tell the story. So you want to see when the body of the candle is actually closing, because at least for my strategy, like when I see a fair value gap get inverted like that, I only really act on it when I see the close of the body. So if I see like the candle is closing soon, like I want to know that. So I definitely would keep countdown to bar close on here. You can see it right there. And yeah, so I would definitely do that. Other stuff is mostly just personal preference, like the date format. If you want it to be like military time, you know, 1920 or whatever. So next thing is canvas. If you didn't already set the background to white, or you know, whatever you'd prefer, I would do that now. I wouldn't say there isn't too much more to change about this. I like the current color of the crosshair, but you could change that there. Grid lines, I honestly don't know what this one does, but I've never had like an issue. And then the watermark that it's referring to here is if you ever go into replay mode, you'll see this big like watermark on the back. You can just disable it like that. Or if you want to see like the current like ticker you're on, you can also enable that and it'll show it there. Same with the interval or the description. So if you prefer that, you can keep them on. I personally don't do that, but yeah. So besides that, so the trading tab is pretty important to me as well. I would definitely have the buy and sell buttons enabled. Otherwise, I don't really know how I would enter a trade. I do prefer the instant orders placement setting toggled here, and it's a little bit to get used to, because if you're used to going here, let me close this trade. So let's say you want to buy a position. You can manage the amount of units that you want to have here, and you can also set your take profit and stop loss like in advance. And that's possible on brokers as well, like this whole format. The only thing is you can't do the take profits and stop loss after you place the trade. That's where you have to do the limit orders. And sure, this is good, like it makes sure you're like accurate with, you know, where your market order is being placed. Because if you don't know, market order places the trade the second you click the button wherever buyers or sellers are available. So if price is at 21,888.75, okay, now it's 25. When I buy, it'll put me basically at that level. You can see I got filled at 888.5, and that's just generally due to how the market works. It won't necessarily place you right where you want it, but essentially it's the same for selling as well. let's say you don't want to go through the steps of, clicking buy, setting the units here, clicking buy, whatever. Instant order placements lets you adjust the amount of contracts you want to buy here. And the second you click the button, it enters the market. So I click buy and boom, it's in like that. And it's also good not only for that, but setting limit orders as well. So you might remember when I set the limit order earlier, it brought up that screen on the side again, and then I had to click buy and everything. What this lets me do is, let's say I want to set a stop loss here. The second I click stop, it's there. And the second I want to drag this and, maybe move my stop to, a lower level or, I don't know, break even, something like that. The second I drag it and I let go of left click, it's immediately modified. You can see price just hit it and close my trade, but that's kind of why I like it. It's a bit to get used to at first if you're used to that side panel popping up and having to confirm, because I've definitely accidentally entered a trade just by clicking this because I forgot instant executions were on, and that kind of made me realize like, okay, I need to get more used to this. But yeah, so I would say get used to that. The only other thing I would say to change in this part of settings, if you get kind of emotional based on like how much money you see you're making, so like let's say I enter like with 100 contracts, I don't think it'll let me. Okay, so let's say I enter with like 100 contracts and every single tick is like $1,500 of money that I'm potentially making or losing. If obviously you probably won't be in this scenario, but just the fact that you're seeing, lots of money being made or also lost, if that tends to make you emotional, changing it to ticks might help you, with that issue. Because at the end of the day, we're kind of all playing like a mini video game where we want to see our model work and do what's right. And it's not necessarily about the money, it's about how well it's working. So if you're using, your model and you're ignoring the money and you're only focusing on like how much you can predict the market to move in the direction you want it to, if you start tracking the ticks rather than the money, that might help you, avoid those emotions that you might have. So you can also do percent. I don't really like that. It doesn't really show me that much. I like the ticks. It shows me kind of, is the trade working how I wanted it to, or is it not? So besides that, you can also do that for brackets, profit and loss, and just completely remove the money aspect. I don't really know where that brackets thing goes, but besides that, there isn't too much more important. Maybe you like it on the left or right in the middle. I'm more of a right guy, and basically the only other thing to go over would be alerts right here. So if you don't know what an alert is, it's basically what the name implies. Let's say I want to set an alert to tell me when price goes below or touches this level at least. Or actually, let's go with this level. So all you have to do, you click this plus button that I told you to enable, and you do add alert. And the second price taps this level at all, you'll get a notification on your computer, and it'll tell you, it'll say exactly this, NQ1 crossing 21, blah, blah, blah. And you can also edit it and, change like the message. So you can say like, hello. And that'll tell you that. It'll give you that notification. So you can set it to really whatever you want. It is honestly pretty useful setting alerts. I don't do it too much just because I'm kind of on the charts at one point and then off the charts later. And I don't really like come back and go forth and come back, so you can also choose if you want the notifications to notify you on your phone. Maybe like there's a level that you're waiting to get hit, but you want to like get off your computer. So you can set the alert and make it notify you on your phone. And the second it does, you can open the app or, like run back to your computer or something. So I think that's pretty cool. And there's a lot of different options you can choose from. I'm not honestly too sure how it works. I guess this is like channels are multi-level or something. I don't know. I only really use the crosses So yeah, you can see examples here, and I'm also getting notifications on my phone like that. I don't know if you can see that, but basically it's saying alert, go to your computer, bro. So that's about all this is. Let's see, news just shows these little things at the bottom. I don't really use them, so I'm gonna turn it off, but I don't know what this ideas thing is. I think that's more for like sharing things on the app, and that's about it. So yeah. So the next thing I'm gonna dive into is kind of the drawings that I would recommend. And you can see there's a ton of things here, and you can favorite them, and you'll see it'll put it on this kind of favorites bar right here. So these are the main ones I use. I have a trend line here. I don't use really any of these. I like the horizontal lines because it lets me, click anywhere and it'll do it like literally forever. So if I go far back a while and I want to see like that line kind of like indicated like at the current point in time, like I have that. This one here is the fib retracement, which can be used for a lot of things. I really only use it for checking like the high or the premium and discount of the range. So I have the 0 marked out here, the 0.5 mark, and the 1. So this is the bottom of the range, this is the top, and then this is like the equilibrium. So that's about all I use that for. This vertical line, I honestly don't really use that much. It just makes a line. That's about all in the lines category, and in the Fibonacci as well. There's like a ton of random ones like this. I don't even know what you would use this for, but there's a ton of different things that you could if you really wanted to. But that's about it for what I use. The long position and short positions are basically like must-have favorites, or at least drawings that you use. This basically lets you like plan out any trade. So say you want your stop loss there, you want to target this high, boom, you can see exactly how many points your stop loss is, the exact risk reward. You can see it's pretty much exactly a 2.0 risk reward, how many points it would take you to reach your take profit here, which is 40. And yeah, I don't totally know what all these numbers mean. You can see like this 0.9% is how much like it would have moved, but I don't know about all of it. But the long position and the short position are definitely some must-haves for basically any trader. You can see it's the exact same for short. Besides that, I do like the brush just to kind of draw around. I don't normally use it on like actually trading, but when I'm like recording these videos or like talking to my friend and like explaining things, I like being able to like actually draw things and like circle things and point at things, stuff like that. So that's kind of nice. I do also like the text just for like annotating anything that I want to keep on like a screenshot. Like if I want to say like should have gone break even here, I can do that. I could make it a little smaller, but there's a ton of stuff you can do with that. This path thing really isn't that useful. I mainly just use it for like my prediction of how price is going to move, but I really use that. I would say the rectangle drawing, which you find in this category, is pretty useful, especially if you trade ICT, just for drawing out fair value gaps. And basically that's it. And if you're curious how I did that so fast and how I got it like perfect, basically when you have a drawing selected, or just a drawing selected, if you hold control, it'll auto lock you. You can see it turns on magnet mode right here. It'll put you at the closest wick or body. You can see I'm on a wick here, then a body here, then a wick, then a body. But basically it lets you be like pinpoint accurate with your drawing. So I want to start it there and go to here because those are like two fair value gaps. So holding control that way will turn on magnet mode like that. And the only other keybind I recommend is for drawing like lines. So I'll use the control here to lock it to this line specifically. And if you ever struggle with making straight lines, you can actually just hold shift and when you hold shift, it'll make it straight or like diagonally straight or upward straight. Mainly I just use the horizontal straight, but that's super useful. I didn't know about that for like at least a month into trading, so I wish someone told me about that earlier, because I was like struggling to line this up like perfectly. I would try to use the crosshair and sort of put it and get it right sometimes, but holding shift just makes it so much easier. Besides that, you can see I just like deleted this in one button. That is the mouse 3 button, so I like that. Just pressing mouse 3 deletes any drawing instantly, just like that. I like that as well. It lets me clean up things a lot faster. Yeah, that's about it. You can see that thing that I just pulled up is the ruler. I don't think it's that useful. It kind of just tells you like how many, this is 60 points upwards, 49 bars, how long this would take, I guess. Oh, 2 hours and 27 minutes is the horizontal way, so see it gets longer or shorter that way. Not really that useful. I just know some people might be curious how I pulled that up, and the keybind for that is shift and left click, or you just click over here and do that. And the next thing I want to go over is templates for different things. So you might see this trend line here. It's just a regular line, right? Well, I actually have like a ton of templates I use for it, and honestly there isn't a whole lot of difference here between them, besides just I have pre-typed in like letters on there, and you can kind of change where you want the things to go, but essentially mine are all the same. Some of these are a little outdated, but this one just does a blue line. But I do like templates a lot because it saves you from, you know, let's say we go back to just my line, it saves me from having to like click add text and adding like TP there, and then maybe it's ugly, so I have to go to the text and like make it bold and italic and put it on the right side, and now it looks good. But I could just save it as a template instead, so I would just do save as, take profit, and save it, and now I can go back to this whenever I want. And you can also do that for updating different ones as well. So if I have like this TP1 and I don't want to make a new one, I just want to override my current one, I can do that, so it just updates it how you want it to. So I like that. I also use quite a bit of templates for rectangles. This is kind of more the AMD stuff that I don't really use anymore, but it's nice for learning kind of how AMD works. So like accumulation, manipulation, distribution, it kind of like marks out the levels just by doing that. The only one I really use recently is just the IFEG one, basically just showing that an FEG got inverted. Besides that, the only other templates I use are for these long and short positions, and not many people actually talk about this, but this is very crucial. So if you're taking notes, I would recommend taking notes on this, or literally just going into your TradingView and copying exactly what I do. So you might see here when I go to the settings of a short position, also pull up a long position, you can see there's this inputs tab, and you can see you can enter actually your account size. And for anyone that knows about risk management, typically you want to be risking around 1% of your account per trade, and you can do that. You can actually do it perfectly right here. So let's say you have a $50,000 account, you input that there, and then you can say you want to risk 1% of that, and that'll basically let you do that. But I like just keeping this whatever and using the USD because I mostly trade like prop firms, and you can set the risk amount to whatever you want. So let's say you have a $2,500 drawdown, and if you don't know what that means, basically you can only lose $2,500 or $5,000 on a prop account before, you know, it's closed. So if you want to risk $250 on a $2,500 drawdown account, that means you get 10 tries, right? Because you're risking $250 and you lose that 10 times, you've lost $2,500. You get 10 tries and 10 trades without winning, you know. So 250 is usually a solid number, and you might be curious what this does. So let's say I have my entry here and I want to put my risk here, or my stop there, and my take profit there. You can see we have a pretty bad risk reward, but what this lets me do, you can see I have my risk set to 250. If I'm here and I right click it and I hit create limit order, what this will do, okay, I'll increase the risk a little bit just for the video's sake. Let's do 500. Let's make the stop a little tighter. Now I have a pretty tight stop. So you can see it's only letting me enter, or it's telling me if I want my stop to be right here, it will not let me risk more than 500. So you can see mine is 500. This won't let me do more, or this will tell me where my stop should be to do less than 500. So let's say I cancel this and I do this a little, I'll make the stop even tighter, and I do create limit order. You can see I can risk 7 contracts at this level now because my stop is so tight that if price goes down to here, obviously I'll lose 500, but that's within my risk amount, you know? So that's basically why this is so useful. And obviously you have to think a little harder about it because price isn't always going to remain at the exact price you put your stop loss at. The only way it'll do that is, like, let's say you want to actually use a limit order, which is perfectly fine. Let's say you want price to trade into this gap, and the second it taps this gap, you want to enter. You could set your entry right here and set your stop loss maybe at this low and set it at this high. And you could actually create a limit order using this. So you can see the second price hits here, it's going to buy, and the second price hits this right here, it's going to close the trade because it hit our stop loss. And the second price hits up here, it'll take our profit because it hit the line that we marked out. So I'll actually, do that in action, and you can see it'll actually show the amount you'll lose based on how you're adjusting this. But the main part is knowing how much you'll be risking at that certain level. So you can see this buy limit, I'll make it work. Okay, see, it filled me, and now we're risking that, and we can manage this how we want. But that's a super useful tip for knowing how much you can risk on a given trade and not exceeding, the amount that you want to lose per trade. So the next thing I want to jump into is actually the watch list, which I don't use a whole lot, but those people that kind of jump around from, ticker to ticker might find this a little more useful. But basically you can make folders and track whichever, indice or Forex ticker or NASDAQ ticker or whatever you want, crypto. You can keep them all here, and you can just click on them and switch between them as you want, rather than just going up to this thing here and typing in, let's say we want to look at Tesla. Boom, we have Tesla. But if we wanted to actually add Tesla to our watch list and get it easier, you click this symbol up here, this little plus, and you just search Tesla and you click the plus, and now it's down here. So I can go and put it in my NASDAQ folder, and now I can look at Tesla whenever I want. Boom, I don't have to search it up anymore. So you can do that with whatever you want. A lot of these are kind of outdated for me as well. I don't really check the NASDAQ. I don't really check Forex anymore. I don't really look at crypto, to be honest. I mainly just focus on these indices, and half of these I don't even use. But essentially, it's just really nice to be able to switch between all of these just with the click of a button, rather than, typing them in and searching them. Now, the last thing in this video that I want to talk about is how you actually pair a broker with, TradingView. So you can see here I have my paper trading account that I just lost 20,000 fake dollars on, unfortunately. But let's say, you're done paper trading and you want to connect a broker and actually execute trades through TradingView. So what you would do is you could log out or just click see the brokers list, and this will show you all of these here. And maybe you can use this to determine, what broker you want to go with. I know a lot of people like Tradivate. Some people use Ninja Trader. I've heard AMP is more for like more experienced traders for whatever reason. There's also Webull and Coinbase, which is interesting, but essentially what you'd want to do if you want to actually start trading real funds and not paper trade. So you would select whichever broker you want to use. In my case, it would be Tradivate because that's what I've heard is the best, and that's what I have my funded accounts on. So I would click that, and you can see my username is there already. And because it's an eval account, I'm on the demo because I'm not actually trading real funds until I pass the account. But all you do is you enter your username and your password, and you hit connect, and you're in. So I'll log in real quick. And now that you hit connect, you can see I'm logged into my account here, and I can look at my summary, all my orders that I made, any active positions I have open, your P&L for the day, and then also your account balance and equity and profit for, you know, any live trades. And that's basically it. All you would do is you can execute a trade if you want. Actually, I'm like $52 or $58 off of drawdown. So basically this account is blown, which I'll have a video coming out soon explaining what exactly happened and how I'm not going to make those same mistakes again. And, you know, that's all this is really about, you know, just learning and from your mistakes especially. And yeah, so that's going to be about it for this video. Let me know if you guys have any questions regarding TradingView or just beginning at all. I'd be glad to answer any questions I can. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.